What's up guys, Sebastian from Walkways Vintage. Welcome to our gallery. In today's video, we'll be talking about this Fender American Vintage 2 1965 Stratocaster. This guitar is an accurate recreation of an original 1965 Strat, which in my opinion is one of the coolest years for Fender because they were going right through a transitional period from the company being owned by Leo Fender to then it being sold to the CBS company that basically made some major changes and drastically changed the course of the company halfway through the 60s. So let's talk about what makes this guitar so special. As you can see in the headstock, the logo, it's called the transitional logo as opposed to the spaghetti logo that you had earlier. This is a logo that became very prominent in the 60s for Fender, but this is sort of like the first time that we see it on a Stratocaster. You also have a C profile neck that is quite different from the ones that you would see on earlier years. This is a 65C, and basically it's just a classic C with a little bit more meat on the sides, and it's more even all the way through. Something that is very common on earlier 60s is that the neck starts very thin at the top and then it gets fatter towards the bottom. This one is a bit more even. It doesn't have such a drastic change, and I actually favor that. I personally think it's more comfortable. You also have a vintage 7 1/4 radius with medium frets, and surprisingly, it doesn't affect the playability at all. This guitar came from the factory with a somewhat low action, and the notes really don't choke, so the setup from the factory is already great, and it's a very fast neck, surprisingly. You also have a laminated rosewood fretboard. This is something that they also changed halfway through the 60s. The first ones that we saw were made out of a slab, but with these laminated ones, it's a flat piece of wood that is basically bent and then glued. I think laminated is just really cool personally. And of course, you see the paraloid dots. That is also a change that they did before they had clay dots. Another thing that we see here is a 3-ply pick guard with 11 holes instead of 9. And something that you see here is that the guard is actually white as opposed to mint. The reason why you see mint guards is because of a factory defect where the middle layer from the 3-ply would bleed onto the top, and it would give it this minty color to it that a lot of collectors nowadays revere as a desirable thing. By this time, they had already fixed that issue, so you don't see many green guards around this era. And my favorite thing about the guitar is the pickups. These are gray bottoms, and they sound really, really, really good. They have really nailed that sound. I think this is one of the quintessential Strat sounds. The right amount of output and clarity. They're not too thin, they're not too hot, they're just perfect. And then you also have, well, the sonic blue color that is really, really cool. Who doesn't love Fender custom colors? Overall, I think this guitar is amazing. It's great to see accurate depictions of vintage Strats out of the American Vintage 2 series. That is something that you normally see out of the custom shop. So it's great to see some of those specs and historically accuracy trickle down onto the USA line of guitars. We're running it through this Fender Princeton. This is a Creek Stapleton signature, and it's based on a brown face Princeton that they modded with a 12-inch speaker. It still retains that classic Princeton boxy character, but the bottom end from that 12-inch speaker really transforms the sounds for the better, in my opinion. It gives it a little bit more body, a little bit more oomph, and it makes it a bit closer to the Deluxe, which is great because you have the smaller form factor with a lower wattage, which means that you can crank it and get overdrive at a lower volume. We're running it on the edge of breakup at about 6 or 7, and this is, in my opinion, kind of like the sweet spot for these amps. They really pick up your pick attack, and if you dig in, you get some hair out of it. If you play it lightly, it sounds nice and clean, and it's just an amazing combination with a guitar like this. We're adding a little bit of reverb as well through the Fender Reverb pedal. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys want to find out more about this gear, the links will be down below in the description. Head over to our website, walgracevintage.com, where you see a wide selection of gear, cars, coffee, watches, and a lot more cool stuff. If you guys want to support the channel, give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and follow us at @WalgraceVintage on Instagram for more content like this. My name is Sebastian. Till next time.